Praise the Lord, everyone. I pray you and your families are doing very well. Welcome to A Word in the Car. It's been a minute. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. So today we are looking at Genesis chapter 31. Okay. And I read. It says, Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything our father owned and has gained all his wealth from what belonged to our father. And Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had been. Then the Lord said to Jacob, go back to the land of your fathers and your relatives, and I'll be with you. So literally, this same Laban that said, come on in, come work with me, I'll do this and that for you, all of a sudden his attitude has changed. The very things that he promised Jacob, he didn't do them. But see, God was really with Jacob. God was with Jacob. See, the moment he even realized that, God said, go to the land of your fathers. So God was really with him. Now let's read. It says, so Jacob sent word to Rachel and Leah to come out to the field where his flocks were. He said to them, I see that your father's attitude toward me is not what it was before, but the God of my fathers has been with me. You know that I have worked for your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me by changing my wages 10 times. See, sometimes God takes us through a process. Let's say you hurt people and you never recognize that you hurt people. God will allow people to hurt you, not to let them hurt you to harm you, but to teach you a lesson. So after the lesson, you began to realize, oh my gosh, is this what I was doing to people all this while that I never noticed? That was the case of Jacob. I mean, he cheated on his brother. He had to run away and come to Laban, not knowing Laban was even the worst of all cheaters. See, he said, your father has changed my wages 10 times. For him, he took his brother's word, birthright, acting like Esau, and took all the blessings, and now he's here. But God was with them. I mean, you can tell from the birth of his story. Like, the mother said that before he came, he was holding the heel of his brother. So this is somebody that God was with him even in the womb. So he shouldn't have even worked his way out to cheat Esau, because he was gonna be the boss of it all anyways. So I feel like God allowed this to happen for a reason. Allow him to be in Laban's house for him to learn, like, oh my gosh, is it how it is to be treated or have this kind of pain, especially when you are being cheated on, because that's the exact same thing he did to somebody. So we should be very careful with our walk with God, that sometimes our deeds follows us. Sometimes you might think, oh, I'm doing this to this person, I don't care. It's following you. Okay, he traveled, he changed locations, but that thing followed him, and even worse. Okay, now he said, I have worked for your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me by changing my wages 10 times. However, God has not allowed him to harm me. Like I said, God allowed him to learn that cheating is bad. You cheated on somebody, now you're being cheated, and your wages has been changed 10 times. Even the woman that you were promised to be given to, you had somebody else. God was teaching him a lesson without harm. So sometimes God takes us through the process, not to harm us, but to teach us, to refine our character. He said, if he said the peckled ones will be your wages, then all the flocks gave birth to the peckled young. And if he said the streaked ones will be your wages, then all the flocks brought to was streaked young. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me. In breeding season, I once had a dream in which I looked up and saw that the male goats mating with the flock were streaked, speckled, and spotted. The angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob. I answered, here I am. And he said, look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flock are streaked, speckled, or spotted. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. Like I said, as much as God wanted to teach him a lesson, God was with him. Because it came to a point that this was too much. Like the Bible says, he cannot give us more than we cannot bear. It was becoming unbearable for him. So God has to step in. I answered, here I am. And he said, look up and see all the male goats mating with the flocks and streaked, speckled, and spotted. And I have seen all that Laban had been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go to the land, to your native land. Then Rachel and Leah replied, do you still have any share in the inheritance of our father's estate? Does he not regard us as foreigners? Not only has he sold us, but he has used up what he has paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God took away from our father's house belonged to us and our children. So do whatever God has told you. This is coming from the wives. Then Jacob put his children and his wives on camel, and he drove all the livestock ahead of him, along with all the goods he had accumulated in Paddan Aram, to go to his father Isaac's land of Canaan. Canaan was a promised land to them, okay? When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole his father's household gods. What a shame. This is the same Rachel. Envy, jealousy. And now, she was the same person who was saying that, Jacob, do whatever God tells you. Now, she went and stole a god, like a god with a lowercase g. When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole his father's household gods. She didn't find anything to steal like a god. Moreover, Jacob deceived Laban, the Aramean, by not telling him he was running away. So he fled with all he had, crossed the Euphrates River, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. Laban pursued Jacob. On the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Taking all his relatives with him, he pursued Jacob for 7 days. I'm telling you, if somebody want to pursue you, they are not going to give up. This is somebody, he has used you and now he's pursuing you. This, sometimes looking in the perspective of the enemy. Sometimes if we give ourselves, the enemy, a chance in our life, that's what he does. He will use us, and then what? He will pursue us if we are not on the side of God. Even him, that God was with him, he was being pursued. Then God came to Laban, the Aramean, in a dream at night. This is where we should take our dreams serious. God speaks to us a lot in our dream. The reason why God spared Abimelech's life was because of a dream he had. So pay attention to your dreams at night, and said to him, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. God was warning him. That man was blessed. Because remember, anybody who bless Jacob will be blessed. Anybody who cursed Jacob will be cursed. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead when Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relative came there too. Then Laban said to Jacob, what have I done? What have you done? You've deceived me. Look at Laban telling Jacob that you've deceived me. Sometimes let's check our character. Sometimes the very things that we say, and this person did this to me, you might have done that thing to somebody, and now you are experiencing the pain, and that's you here venting. You've deceived me. You've carried off my daughters like captives in war. Yes, he should have told them, like, we are leaving, right? That's the right way, because I mean, this man gave you these girls. hands in marriage, right? We always have to do the right thing. Why did you run off secretly and deceive me? This is not deception. He just did not tell you. So I didn't like the word deceive here, because he should have just told him. There's nothing like deception here. And see, like I was saying, this man was deceptive. So everything is, if somebody does something that he does to people, now he's calling that thing deception, but it wasn't deception. Why didn't you tell me? I could have sent you away with joy and singing to the music of trumpets and harps. That's a lie. You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. You've done a foolish thing. Didn't God warn him not to say anything good or bad to him? He didn't listen. I have the power to harm you, but last night, the God of your father said to me, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. So why did you say he did a foolish thing? Now you have gone off because you long to return to your father's house, your father's household. Bye. But why did you steal my gods? Jacob answered Laban, I was afraid because I thought you would take your daughters away from me by force. See, he knew how Laban was, a deceptive person. And he said, I knew that you would take these people, your daughters, away from me by force. He used force to get what he wants. In the presence of your relatives, see for yourself whether there is anything of yours here with me. See, this is Jacob, that God has what? Take away every level of deception from him, because he had to let him dwell in Laban's house to deal with his deceptive character. And now he said, look, I don't have anything with me. And he said, now Jacob, in the presence of your relatives, see for yourself whether there is anything of yours here with me. And if so, take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the gods. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two female servants, but found nothing. After he came out of Leah's tent, he entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel has taken the household gods and put them inside her camel saddle and was sitting on them. Laban searched through everything. So this tells me that Laban didn't fear God. Laban didn't fear God. He had gods with him. Okay? And like he was telling Jacob, you were very lucky that the gods of your father appeared to me in a dream. I would have harmed you. He was not a man, so he didn't really care that he would deceive you to get whatever he wants. But again, God had to allow Jacob to be there to learn that where I'm taking you, he cannot take deception there. So Laban went into Jacob's tent. We read that already. Rachel said to her father, don't be angry with my lord that I cannot stand up in your presence. I'm having my period. She lied. She was sitting on the gods, and she told his father that she's having her period. So he searched but could not find any household god. Jacob was angry and took Laban to task. What is my crime? He asked Laban. How have I wronged you that you hunt me down? Now that you have searched toward all my goods, what have you found that belongs to your household? Put it here in front of your relative and mine, and let me judge between the two of us. I have been with you for 20 years now. See, now Jacob is pouring out his heart, all the hurts, the hardship that this man has put him through. 20 years, God taught him a lesson. Your sheep, your goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten rams from your flocks. I did not bring you animals torn or wide breast. I bore the loss myself. God really prepared this man for where he's going. And I pray that we will allow God to prepare us too. This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime and the cold at night. And sheep fled from my eyes. It was like this for 20 years. I was in your household. I worked for you for 14 years. For your 2 daughters, 6 years for your flocks, and you've changed my wages 10 times. He was really, really, really pouring out his heart. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, so if the gods, he called forth the gods of his fathers and his grandparents, you would have surely sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship. Like I said, God will never give us anything that we cannot handle. So God saw that this is too much for him to bear. My hardship and my toil of my hand. And last night he rebuked you. Jacob was literally a prophet too. There was nothing that God did not do without showing to him. He said, last night God came and rebuked you. Laban answered Jacob, the women are my daughters. The children are my children. The flocks are my flocks. All you see is mine. Yet what can I do today about these daughters of mine, or about the children that they have borne? Come now, let's make a covenant, you and I, and let us serve a witness between us. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. He said to his relatives, gather some stones. So they took stones and piled them in a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban, they ate what? There. Peace. So sometimes it's not everything that we escalate it, we make it, this person did this to me, and we go. Sometimes let be peacemakers. The Bible said what? Like the oil that flew from what? Aaron's head, top. Okay, and it said they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jigar Shahaduta, and Jacob called it Galad. So they gave name to that place where they sat and ate. Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me today. That is why it is called Galad. It was also called Mizpah, because he said, may the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are away from each other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take any wives beside my daughters, even though no one is with us, remember that God is a witness between you and me. Look at Laban now acknowledging that God is a witness. Laban also said to Jacob, here is this heap, and here is this pillar. This heap is a witness that I will not go past this heap to your side to harm you, and you will not go past this heap and the pillar to harm me. May the God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob took an oath in the name of the fear of his father. He offered a sacrifice there in the hill country and invited relatives to a meal. After they had eaten, they spent a night there. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren, his daughter, blessed them. Then he left and returned home. So God was able to make peace out of the chaotic situation. Today, God is calling us to be peacemakers. It doesn't matter sometimes how people that hurt us are part of God's plan. Looking at the life of Jacob, God took him to Laban's house to learn that he cannot continue with this deceptive lifestyle. It has to end. But God didn't say that in words. For the 20 years of his life, God has to teach him that was a wrong behavior. Where he's going, he cannot take that behavior with him. So God had to strip him off before he left. And look at how God was able to make peace in that chaotic situation, with Rachel still in a guard, with his stuff being searched, from him being chased down for 7 nights by Laban. But yet, they were able to agree and be at peace. And at the end, there was peace. I pray that we will learn from this story that we'll be peacemakers wherever we dwell. God bless you. See you next time. Bye-bye.